You're listening to Podcast PXN,
a video game podcast
delivering player experience news.
Let's go!
PXN listeners, get ready to strap up your laces because we're going to run through a lot of live service speculation. And welcome to Podcast PXN episode 193. I am one of your hosts, the perennial dating app swiper, back from quote-unquote Cali, Christian Macias, and I'm joined over Discord by Kentucky's #1 Spartan and PXN founder, Daniel Prindle, aka Dan is DTM.
What's up?
I missed you.
That makes one person.
All right. Well, and the president of the Tifa Lockhart fan club. He is the Nintendo aficionado and artist extraordinaire at Roro.
It's a leap of faith, Miles. That's all it is. Leap of faith.
Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing. I missed you.
Missed you too, sir.
Thank you. That's right. That's what's up. That's what's up. And one half of the Men in Gitch podcast, Battlefield's bad boy, the Tarkov Teletubby himself, Gage Dempster. Don't tell the rest of the lads, but I missed you the most.
Oh, hell yeah.
I didn't hear that.
Nice. Thank you to everyone watching us live and participating in the chat. Just as a reminder, we are live each and every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. Just search Podcast PXN. Also find us live simultaneously at twitch.tv/podcastpxn. Whatever your preference is, watch us there. The topic of the show this week is Sony and their live service off to a stumbling start. But first, the show always starts with the PXN news of the week. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Our first quick bite is, guys, I brought you back some souvenirs from California. You ready?
Oh.
Which one do you want?
Oh my god.
I want the purple one.
This is pink.
Is
This
it?
pink,
I
yeah.
want the pink one.
Okay.
I'll take yellow. I like yellow.
And you got green. You like green.
I won't need them, apparently. So.
Oh my god.
This guy goes raw. All right. Our real first, speaking of raw, our real first quick bite. Gollum, the Lord of Ring game, is now the worst reviewed game of 2023 so far. With a Metacritic at the time of posting this article on VGC, 38, which is pretty bad. Pretty bad. We were kind of expecting this to not be super hot.
As Danny would say, this is no bueno.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't think any of us have played it, but it's definitely made the rounds on Twitter and on YouTube, and all the reviewers who have reviewed it. Not in a positive light. Looks pretty rushed. Yeah.
It's gone up 1 point to 39, just FYI. So if you want
Moving on up. Moving on up.
Oh, my precious.
It's probably going to be the worst reviewed game, though. You think this year? I don't think anything's going to dethrone it. That's pretty a low score.
Hey, Starfield is coming in. No, I'm just kidding.
You're so. Oh my god! You have to fucking set me off, bro.
I love to joke, don't I? Some Nintendo news. Super Mario Advance 1, 2, and 3, Yoshi's Island for Game Boy Advance are now up on Switch Online. So if you have NSO, actually I think it's not NSO. I think it's just Switch Online. So if you want to buy them, you can. No, here. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. GBA games available for expansion pack tier subscribers. So yeah, you can get those on NSO. Download them, grab them. Yoshi's Island, great game.
Indeed it is.
For those of you who are into glitches, there was a big Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom duplication glitch going around where I think you would fly up in the air, drop an item, but it stayed in your inventory. So people were duplicating a lot of items. Well, Nintendo has come in with a patch that fixes it. So if you have updated your Tears of the Kingdom, you can no longer do the duplication glitch.
Yes. I never got a chance to do it. I don't think I would have done it, but a lot of people are using it to duplicate rupees. They could be super rich.
You can do that with rupees too?
Apparently, yeah. Or at least items that you could sell for rupees and just become super rich. And yeah. That's that I might have done that, but for like other stuff, probably not.
However, I did see today that there's a new method that people have found.
So
So they fixed this one, but there's
Can't
another
stop 'em.
method.
Can't stop capitalism, dude.
Enough. Speaking of capitalism, Forza Motorsport fans, here we go. Turn 10 reveals Forza Motorsport's cover cars. We're excited to confirm in a tweet they said, your Forza Motorsport cover cars meet the stunning 2023 number 1 Cadillac Racing V-Series R and 2024 Chevrolet Corvette E-Ray. Tune in to the Xbox Games Showcase on June 11th for an up-close look at these cars. Swag.
Oh yeah,
Pretty neat.
these games are always really pretty.
Just like you.
Oh, thank you.
That's so sweet.
Since you also said the Xbox event, just throwing this in there as well.
Tell
the
me.
Xbox Twitter account is teasing with some
All right.
some sprinkles of
Sparkles.
dust. Yeah.
The glitter.
That Fable is probably going to show up. At the event.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. And that was the Forza devs that were working on that, yeah?
Yeah,
Playground?
it's Playground.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah, yep. Exciting.
It's very exciting because there was a whole debacle like a year ago, a year and a half ago, saying that the game was in trouble and then that it might have been delayed. And then I remember shortly after it didn't get as much attention, but somebody reputable like dismissed it. Was like, no, it's actually chugging along pretty fine. So we might be close to getting this game in our hands, which is exciting. If they're teasing it, showing there, we might actually see gameplay. Very excited.
We last saw it 2019, 2020, something like that, I think. For a little
2019,
while.
I think, for the announcement trailer, if I remember correctly.
4 years is like, that's
well-
enough time for them to like get some serious headway on working on it. So it might be pretty close to, well, I'm not gonna say close to launch, but close enough to like show it off.
I think we can see gameplay. I think it's reasonable to expect that we might see gameplay.
And Phil was on stage in 2018 when they acquired Playground Games, and that's when they officially announced that Playground was working on another game, which it was already rumored to be Fable at that time. So
True.
Yeah.
But we're looking at a healthy amount of dev time, assuming there's no setbacks.
Sure. Looking at you, what's the other game?
Just pick a random publisher and say it. It'll
Perfect
work.
Dark.
Oh.
Got some more Nintendo news. Nintendo has blocked the Steam version of GameCube and Wii emulator Dolphin from releasing. Basically because Dolphin emulator had the Wii's encryption keys inside of Dolphin's source code. So can't do that. They got to go back and fix that. Make sure it doesn't have
Doesn't have that.
have that in the source code. Dolphin's cool though.
Yeah. Dang it, Nintendo. Dang it.
It's understandable. They have reason to go after this. Yeah.
Hopefully they get it fixed because Dolphin is cool.
Yes. Thank you. Lads, are you ready to immortalize yourself on the statue of Lilith in Diablo 4? Well, if you are, you can do so by reaching level 100 on hardcore mode and then tweeting Diablo 4 hardcore with proof to have your username immortalized on the statue of Lilith. It's only the first 1,000 people, so get to grinding.
Holy. Are you going to do this, Dan and Gage? I know you guys are Diablo people. Gage will not be answering that question.
Gage was so upset about that question that he dropped out. There's no way in hell I'm gonna have enough time to get to 100 on hardcore before 1,000 other people do it. I guarantee you. There's gonna be
Just
a
quit.
lot. Yeah.
Quit your job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, quit my job and quit playing literally anything else. Yeah, but this is cool.
That is cool. I think Gage is frozen again. No, he's
I'm
blinking
not.
his eyes. Yeah.
I'm not
Pulling a
frozen.
Drax.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's a bunch of dorks are gonna get there really quick, and then.
Oh my god.
Well, I'm not gonna do it. So it doesn't affect me at all. It is neat. It's a neat idea, though. I like it. But we don't know if it's a real statue or if it's like an in-game statue. If it's a real,
It's definitely in game. It's definitely in game.
Yes, yeah.
Is
Gage is the man that plays a game for 5 matches and then plays another game for 5 matches and then goes back and then
It's called diversity of
I know.
stonks.
Yeah,
It's
that's fair.
diversifying your
Stonks.
portfolio. I wouldn't expect you to understand.
Anyway. Got some tragic news for only me. The worst thing that could ever happen to Silent Hill has happened, apart from Bloober making Silent Hill 2. Gizmodo? No, not Gizmodo. What does that studio make? Silent Hill Ascension. We got a trailer for this. Genvid. Genvid put out a trailer for this game, and it looks completely reductive, in my opinion, of like a super massive game. One of those like Until Dawn games. Does not feel like anything Silent Hill at all. And shortly after, there had to be a reset era like thread on explanations as to how things are working, because it's pretty confusing. In fact, it still got confusing for some people. Basically, the CEO of Genvid had to come out and be like, this is how it's going to work. It's going to be a streaming title. It's not a game. It streams every day for a week as a weekly episode. Where players can use what the basically Twitch channel points. You get these points for watching and engaging, and you can use those points to have decisions happen inside of the game. There are 3 possible outcomes for character fates. I think one is redemption, the other is damnation, and the third is something else. Death, probably. Yeah, and then this will go on for a couple of months, and whatever ending happens is canon. So you're watching along for months, and then whatever you and all the other hundreds of thousands of people watching will decide the fates of these people. Still kind of weird, to wrap our head around. The main concern is whether or not this is Silent Hill enough for a Silent Hill series. However, this team did, however, consult a lot of people, specifically on trauma, to try and hone that aspect of Silent Hill, and we'll see how it pans out.
Interesting. I think the idea sounds cool. I don't know, like you were saying, for Silent Hill fans, as I am not one of them, I could see this being kind of like a weird departure from what the series is known for, and being a little trepidatious about that. But I think the idea is sounds kind of cool, like the streaming thing. Everybody making decisions. They've done this before with, like you said, with the super massive games, and being able to interact with chat, and those have varying results, I guess. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out.
I still don't understand how canonicity works.
Right.
There will be daily streams for a few months as this is live, but with daily recaps and weekly episodes edited from what happens that week, and other methods to catch up, as no one is expected to be able to tune into everything. I don't understand how, if it's a weekly episode, how we're doing it daily. I
seem like there's the one live one, and the ones after the previously on edited version, I guess. The one that is live the first day, the days that are after that one are just the choices have already been made, and you're just rewatching it, I guess. I don't know.
That would suck to miss one then, and not be able to partake in those fates.
Yeah, I don't understand how you could make choices daily, and they would all be different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We'll see. This drops later this year. Moving on, some Sony news. After a leak, pretty much the same day or the next day, it's confirmed that Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is coming to PC in July, to which someone in this document wrote, why wasn't this at that PlayStation showcase? Who knows? Who knows?
Who was the person who
went up to it, huh?
Yeah.
It wasn't me.
Probably Gage.
What happened? What did I do?
Gage is playing a game. He was not paying attention.
I'm not playing a game. I'm dying.
I'm
Goes to my
kidding.
my graphics card, which is almost certainly dying. By the way, now reading multiple websites, so that's fun.
You wrote.
Did you write this thing about Rift Apart?
I did write this thing about the Rift Apart because it explained to me the logic. It could have been.
Yeah.
It could have been a 30-second.
Here,
Could have used that over the not Forza. What's the Gran Turismo trailer? But
I'll give you 2 words why this wasn't here. You ready?
Is it a name?
yeah, it is. It is. It is. That's awesome, dude. We're looking for Jim Ryan. Nice. Let's just move on. Fans of little toy cars, Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged announced ahead of October release.
Oh, should we say the actual news bit? Did we say what happened or no? I think we got carried away.
No, we said it.
Well, yeah, we said.
Oh, did we? Okay.
Christian got it.
My
Yeah.
bad. Keep doing you.
We'll see how this goes. The first one was free on Plus, and I quite enjoyed it, but only for like max 5 races. After that's like, I've had my fill for a couple of weeks.
Never played this one, but I always thought it looked cool, like from the first like the first one, like it seemed unique. But yeah, I don't know if this is for me. You know,
Yeah.
Which one's on game? Is this an expansion to the second one? There's one on Game Pass right now that I downloaded. I can't. Is this?
No, this has the number 2 on it.
Well, it also says turbocharge, so I don't know if turbocharge is what we're seeing or if it's Unleashed 2 turbocharge, which I guess is the answer.
is it Hot Wheels Unleash 2 turbochargers? You know, like 2 turbochargers are being, and it's still the first game. You know,
God damn it, Ro.
It's
I
meaning
hate
the
you both.
All right, I'll take the
TOO2,
fine.
but they wrote 2.
Nice. Yeah.
Poor Christian.
For real. Let's move on. Our last bit of quick bite. So this is I lumped this in here instead of news, Adam, because it's like, come on, we really have more to say than this. I like to give less time to Bobby Kotick. On the same day of a big article from Variety profiling Bobby Kotick, which failed in a lot of regards, even asking follow-up questions, various like specifics on the company in relation to like the accusations, the hundreds of them that are going against them. On the same day, this all happened in Variety. Another article came out from Axios, in which, here we go, Activision Blizzard's investigation confirmed 29 incidents of harassment, discrimination, or retaliation by employees last year. There was an uptick of them last year. Workers were terminated for discriminatory language, unwanted advances, non-consensual touching, among other things. Insane. Even last year, still not a problem that's being fixed over there.
Yeah, still happening. Like you said, Christian, I don't know what else we could say that hasn't already been said, but I don't know. It's upsetting. Still upsetting, even though we've covered it so many times. But yeah, Bobby Kotick.
Thank
Yeah.
you, sir.
We've said it a million times, but yeah, fuck Bobby Kotick.
Yeah, not the other.
Not all
he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Bobby Hill?
Not Bobby Lee, Bobby Kotick.
Bobby Lee.
That's immediately what I thought I
Bobby.
would do. Said fuck Bobby, and it made me chuckle. But
My God,
Damn it, Bobby.
his
there's a lot of good Bobbies out there, but this is not one of them.
Definitely not.
No, I was just reminded of when Blizzard started to do their own investigations into their own accusations, and in
Oh my god.
the Variety article reminded me of that, where Bobby was like, "There was nothing wrong, nothing happened here." It's like, okay, you're the one we're accusing of the things. You can't say that.
We investigated ourselves and found no wrongdoing.
Yeah.
Swag, dude. Cool.
What a silly guy.
We believe you. We don't. Let's move into our street meet. Ran over some tasty little treats for us to speculate on. The first is some totally true and not at all fake rumors. Sony is acquiring CD Projekt
Whoa.
to which they had to come out and be like, no, that is not true. Although, I mean, who knows? They could be just saying that, but it's most likely they are not being acquired. Let's keep it a buck. They're not. And that Sony has a new showcase. Like, all right, let's relax. We just got this one.
Yeah. Wait a second.
We know this one sucked, but come on, let's give it some time before we start with this rumor mill again. You know what I mean?
My God. I am excited for the next one, but let's take a little breath here.
Yeah. Let's get through the rest of SGF first before we start speculating on the next new showcase. Last street meet here. Fortnite folks. Optimus Prime may be coming to Fortnite. We'll see. There's a first look at Chapter 4, Season 3 key art, supposedly coming from Guile_gag. Seems like it might be real. I don't know.
Is there anything that can't come to Fortnite at this point?
I guess not.
Yeah.
Anything's on the table now, which is cool.
Dude,
Yes.
It's a matter of time before like we get like K-pop stuff in there.
God.
We must have already. There's no way we
Yeah,
haven't.
You're right.
There's
You're
no
right.
way.
You're right.
Yeah,
There's
I was-
absolutely zero chance. Yeah.
I think BTS. Well, this music is at least BTS is definitely in there.
Official collabs beyond just songs or rip off of like dances.
Yeah.
I can't wait until we get like
only
Tony
matter of time.
Soprano in there or something.
Tony Soprano.
They start doing like these really obscure, like they just gotta start partnering with everyone.
What is the wildest thing you would want in Fortnite? I'm still voting for like Larry David.
Wow, that would be so cool. That'd be wild.
Larry David would be awesome. That'd be amazing. That would be great.
Apparently, there's 2 K-pop items in Fortnite, both emotes, Dynamite and another one. I don't know.
Yes, yeah, that's
You
true.
nailed that, Christian. You nailed it on the head.
I can't think of anything. I don't. If they haven't already done it, I would love like an Avatar, The Last Airbender.
That'd be
collaboration.
cool. Yeah.
I want a real avatar.
Pandora, like
Yeah.
yeah. Well, you're onto something there though with the Last Airbender stuff. Like, I immediately thought about the Jedi powers, where you can
Yes.
force stuff rocks. Like that's basically almost earthbending.
Exactly.
Just work on the other stuff.
Exactly.
We're there.
I
Mhm.
would love that.
Yeah. Okay. Mosey on over into news of the week. We got 3 news items here for you. The first, we've talked a little bit about Netflix games and kind of maybe being a little bit doubtful about whether or not they could pull it off. It seems like there's actually a high caliber team being assembled over there. Raf Grassetti today tweeted, "I'm happy to announce that I've joined Netflix to develop a new original IP AAA game." I think this is the same one that Joseph Staten
Joseph Staten. Yep.
joined. So Grassetti will be joining. Benji Sales tweeted, here we go. Grassetti, who recently left PlayStation/Santa Monica as art director on the God of War franchise, announces he has joined Staten, previously from Xbox, Halo, making the game. So the project is seemingly going to be pretty big. Who else are they going to poach? And is this exciting?
I think it's cool that they I don't know. There've been a lot of games where you see the big names and then the game comes out and it's not doesn't really hit. I think this is a good sign that they're taking it seriously, I guess. Like at least they're recruiting some pretty talented people to work on this. But like the CGI trailers that we see at these game showcases, I feel kind of similarly with the names now, where it's like I need to see the game first. Like it's cool that Raph is joining the team, but I would like to see what the game is first before I get excited. But I mean, it's not a bad thing, you know.
It's gonna be many years before we even see anything from this
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Like the fact they're just starting to build the team, so yeah. Like who knows if Netflix even doesn't close them before the game even releases, but we'll see.
I have nothing to add.
I wonder what it is though. What
Hmm.
kind of game?
I do, yeah. I think that's what has me most curious is what kind of AAA game. It is multi-platform. It will probably be streaming to some capacity because it is Netflix. So, yeah, I'm very curious to see what they end up doing. But Dan's right. It's going to be almost at hundreds of years. That's not true. It's going to be years before we even get
Next century.
glimpses of that. Yeah,
Man,
it's going to be called
Netflix.
Weird. What's another word for thing?
Weird. I don't know. Thingamabob.
Making a Stranger Things joke.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Second news item here. I put this in because we talked about this as a topic of the show not too long ago. Apology JPEGs plague the industry. This was tweeted as a quote tweet in response to Lord of the Rings Gollum, in which Gollum, the game, came out, was not received well. And in their JPEG apology image that they wrote, like basically like apologizing to gamers on not being the quality product they wanted to deliver, among which they had a severe typo of their own game called With the Lord of Ring Gollum. This person tweeted and was like, look at the state of gaming right now. And in this is another game from this year, was a Redfall. Later in this week, we got one of these things from Naughty Dog. And then not even including this image was another game from something I actually hadn't even heard of, but was like another game that like came out that week. And so like the state of not all modern games, but a big chunk of them seems pretty bad at a glance when you look at it like this. But what I found kind of interesting was somebody quote tweeting this Gollum thing and saying like, think about how this kind of perpetuates the notion of gamer entitlement, they called it. Like, this is the only kind of industry where people are like, developers are having to apologize, right? Like, and they were kind of saying that sometimes it's okay for just things to just be bad, you know? Like when you go to a restaurant, you know, the chef doesn't come out and apologize if your food was kind of whatever. You know, you go watch a movie and be like, man, that kind of sucked. The director doesn't come out and apologize to you after the theater, right? And so they were kind of saying like, does this kind of, trying to phrase it in a different way. Mm-hmm. I can't help but think about when people are going after developers, when Dan talks about like people attacking developers online. Is it these kinds of images that kind of leads us to that line of thinking where like, hey, we are supposed to receive things good all the time, and if not, you owe us? Is that how we should operate? Found that kind of interesting to at least think about.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just gonna say, I think that there's definitely a middle ground there. Like, I think that gamers definitely perpetuate things sometimes and don't necessarily stand back and say, okay, there's real people that worked on this and worked hard on it. Like sometimes like things just don't work out. And also, I think, you know, there is an opposite extreme to that where you have corporate greed and publishers that want to push things out that, you know, you have a right to be upset about that. And, you know, it's just a matter of where you're directing that anger towards or that frustration towards, I guess. But yeah, I think there's absolutely a good conversation on both sides. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I to the point that guy was making, I forgot where if we are entitled to these responses or not, as opposed to like movies and other stuff like that. I guess we're not entitled to them. I think it's good that they do go out of their way to be a little bit more transparent with us. But it is true that we are paying a little bit more than a trip to the restaurant, trip to the movies, and stuff like that. Like we're also buying a piece of hardware to play these games in the first place as well. So I think there's a little bit more that goes into it. But I do hear that point, and I think it's valid. But I don't know. Even the Naughty Dog one this week was one that I was confused as why people were mad at, because it seems like they're doing the thing that people are asking the other people that made the JPEG images to do, which is take their time, and they're just letting us know that they're going to take a little bit more time to polish it. I hope they don't cancel it. Yeah, I don't really know what to to end on with except that there's a comment in here that I looked at and was like, I totally agree with that. We should be seeking out more indie games that are releasing all the time, that are fantastic, that just go underneath the radar, and as opposed to pre-ordering these AAA games that seem to more often than not release unfinished, as opposed to the passion projects that are being worked on for years, release completely good. They work and they're dirt cheap. Like, we should definitely support those guys a little bit more.
Hell yeah. And I'll jump in here too. The other reason why people to push back against the entitlement argument as well, again, it is a product, but also when people love to bring up the comparisons or analogies of other things, it's funny because what I sit there, I notice is that the comparisons that people make, I think about it, I'm like, you can almost always get your money back if there's something wrong in those alternatives that people love to throw out at.
That
angry
was
game
part of the
days.
thread.
Right. So that's just something as well too, where if more game companies maybe did like, hey, oh, this game is not in a really good state right now. We're going to do a partial refund to people who bought it, and we're also going to lower the game's price until it's at the point where it needs to be, and then bring it up to full price. It's possible. We know it's possible. We know it's very easy. Games do sales all the time. Ubisoft does one every other week on every digital storefront. It's very easy to adjust your prices. So I err on the side of the consumer with this. Yes, it's always been true that people are shitty to developers. That needs to be called out when it happens. But I stand firm on my stance that more and more, every time something like this happens, the conversation gets hijacked by focusing on negative voices, which do exist, but we all kind of, whether our heart's in the right place or not, choose to focus on those, and then the conversation shifts away from, hey, we're getting fucking, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and that was part of that person's thread was like, just get the refund, right? Like,
Not that easy. It's really not that easy, especially if you're on console.
But that's like a systemic problem of the games industry right now. Like when you mentioned this, like the only one from this image that a game was refundable was Cyberpunk, because it launched in such a broken state on consoles that like it had to be refunded. And that's the only one out of these 10 games. And
I will say, just for clarity, I don't agree with putting delay messages on this little thing. So like the Halo Infinite one, and then like Ro was saying, the Naughty Dog one, not the same. They're not the same, and I don't think that one is equal to the other. But I'm totally behind the mindset of somebody who puts this collage together. It's getting very tiring, because we've all been told as well that games are getting bigger and more expansive. That's why the price needs to go up. Okay, well then the game also needs to work. Right?
Sure.
If you're saying that you need more money because the game is harder to make, then that, in my mind, the equation there is, in order for us to keep making games at the quality that we currently make them, we need to make more money. But the problem is that we're paying more money, and the quality of the games that we're getting is lower than what we've had before.
Call of Duty should be on here, man. They should apologize to me.
Well, Call of Duty doesn't apologize. That's how they never get on these. That's how they never get on these fucking collages. It's kind of a Chad strategy, if we're being honest. That's one thing Activision's done really well, especially compared to EA, where it's like EA will always apologize and throw themselves into the fire, whereas Activision will be just as greedy, if not more, but then they just don't acknowledge it.
I would love it if you can just return games easier, because of like say Modern Warfare 2 dropped, and servers weren't working for let's say even longer than they were, 2 to 3 weeks. I would love it just be like, I want to get my money back, or even a partial refund, even.
And every game platform has a metric for tracking how long you've played a game, so I don't see why they can't do that. Like if you've played less than 5 hours or something, like give the person the option for a full refund.
But even that, I agree with you, Daniel. But I mean, I think what's got to happen is that they've got to. What really should happen is that there has to be legislation introduced, but the problem is that everyone that runs all of our countries are 50 years and above, and it doesn't translate well to
50.
Some of the.
That's being generous.
Exactly right. Yeah, no, but I totally agree with you. Yeah, go ahead. Nope, move on.
I'm moving on. Okay. Well, you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. Go ahead.
No man's sky syndrome, Keurig says. Of course, No Man's Sky turned it around.
That doesn't happen though.
They did turn it around. Yeah,
they did turn it around, but that's because the people there actually have and Sean Murray, for all of his mistakes, is an ethical person who decided, no, we're going to fix this. He could have walked away. So even that, where it's that example isn't really an example for the other side of the argument. We got lucky with that developer who decided to take it upon himself to put all the funding he was getting into fixing his game. He could have easily moved on to the next thing, and maybe it would have been great, and people would have forgot. But No Man's Sky is incredible. He deserves all the accolades for that.
All the updates are free too.
All the updates are free.
There's some really good updates too.
Yeah.
From the developers of Hello Games comes Yes Women's Ocean.
Huh?
Hell yeah, dude. That's the remake I've been waiting for.
Let's move on. We got some updates here for you from the PlayStation showcase that happened last week. Just a couple of essentially big ticket items that, through various Twitter updates and blog post stuff, got more details on. Stuff like this, I always kind of wish they'd include a little bit in the actual, announcements. But nonetheless, here we go. Biggest one we have here is Metal Gear. A lot of stuff here. At the end of Delta announcement, we got to look at Volume 1, the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection that includes MGS1, MGS2, Sons of Liberty, and MGS3 Snake Eater. Included in that, also apparently, is Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake from the NES. So you get 5 games in Volume 1, not 3. It's very cool. Very cool. Mm-hmm.
Good for
and then
good for game preservation.
Yes. They don't take it off the store later, but very good. Is this getting a physical release?
Sure.
Nope, it is not. And there's also a lot of confusion as to which versions of these they are, despite Konami saying it's the original games. Online listings are putting them as the remastered stuff. There's still a lot of question marks happening with the Volume 1, but in time we'll see. This fall we'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Don't make it weird, Konami.
And they will. Then this next bit on Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater, the remake, of course, of 3 Snake Eater. Kojima is, of course, not involved, but we had to ask. Konami developers and Virtuous developers have joined forces. They are the quote-unquote capital development team working on this remake. So take that however you will. I'm a little bit nervous about that. And then all the voices from the original game will be in the remake. So they're just using voices from actual 3 Snake Eater, that's nice. So David Hayter returning as Big Boss.
Some say the original Hater.
You get it?
Oh, I get it.
I don't. This comes from what's up?
Sorry. Well, who was the developer you said for who's
some Konami developers as well as and Virtuous.
Okay.
Yeah, which they've done a lot of I think PC ports.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was wondering if there was if they had a history of anything else. But okay, cool.
We don't know who from Konami is working on this.
You know what's crazy is that if on that splash screen when we saw the Snake Eater or Metal Gear Solid 3 splash screen, if it had just said some Konami developers, we would have had more information than what we got.
Dude. I wasn't here last week. I thought that trailer sucked. I'm sorry. That was not a good trailer.
I thought it was a great trailer for somebody who has no idea what any of this is.
You know what they should have did? They should have kept it like the beginning part of the video where you thought it was like a micro game like Grounded, and just kept that theme through the whole trailer, and then 2 weeks later release another trailer that says, oh yeah, remember that trailer? That was actually Metal Gear, and then tie it back, like Phantom Pain. I was going that route, when that game was announced. when they were tricking you,
I don't remember. I
remember
I believe it.
Thank you. I do remember that.
Remember.
No! Family Guy. Let's move on for the sake of time. This comes from, I don't know where, but Daniel shared it, so I put it in here, so thanks, Dan. We got an update on Marathon. I'm going to just say it off the top real quick. I watched that teaser again. What a cool teaser. We'll talk about CG trailers a little bit, but it's a cool teaser. Of course, there's a Vidoc up on their website, but this is pretty much who the team, the big boys are on the Marathon team. So let's go ahead and run you through that. The game/art director is Chris Barrett, who worked on every Bungie game from Myth 2 onwards, was primarily an artist before taking on temporary duties as game director on Destiny 2. The general manager is Scott Taylor, who was the project lead on Destiny 2 Forsaken. The design lead of Marathon is Lars Bakken, the multiplayer designer on Halo 3, designer on ODST, co-op lead on Reach, and competitive multiplayer lead on Destiny 1. And then franchise... Actually, I don't know if that means competitive. This is comp. So yes. I just guessed.
Yes.
The franchise art lead is Joseph Cross, who was the concept artist on Dead Space 2 and 3. Worked on the Dune and Ghost in the Shell movies. and then the lead concept artist on Destiny 1. This is a pretty hot team, I gotta say. Especially, I think this the design lead, Lars Bakken, the multiplayer designer of Halo 3, designer on ODST, co-op lead on Reach, and then competitive multiplayer lead on Destiny 1. I think for what the game they're going for, which is the extraction shooter live service game, they got details on it being a persistent world, which is huge, and you need that. I think this team is probably going to do it justice and have a pretty fun, unique spin on extraction shooters. Kind of excited.
Of course, Lars, I shouted out last week. Love Lars. And he is actually the original brainchild for Firefight in Halo 3 ODST and then also on Halo Reach. So he created Firefight essentially, or he was one of the integral guys on that. But yeah, he's been there a while. And yeah, Christopher Barrett as well has been there a long time. Both grizzled ancients at this point.
I want more on this. Like, this is one of the games where I'm like, man, I would really love to just like watch a 20-minute like deep dive, like just rewatch it for you know what I mean.
Did you watch?
I didn't watch the Vidoc.
Okay,
no, I did not.
It's actually it's got some good details in there actually. Yeah.
Let's all get really into Marathon, especially Ro, who only likes 2 shooters.
It's Bungie, and it has like you said, a pretty good cast of teams. So maybe I'll get into it.
I just hope it's not 3-player squads.
It is 3-player. That's
yeah,
confirmed.
I know.
That's
I
confirmed.
it was.
Yeah, forget it then. You guys have your fun.
Yeah, that was in their Q&A. It is 3-person.
Or I'll be on the other team.
Hey, you know what? We'll just split up 2v2. Not 2v2, but 2 and 2. But we'll be in the same Discord together. Just giggling.
Just sabotaging the opposite team. We'll let you guys win this time. You guys win the next time. It'll be great.
I make fun of a lot of like extraction shooters because not a lot of them seem to like truly get it right. I told Gage I had dreamt about Tarkov the other night. I don't know, man. I still kind of root for them. Like I want them to be like a cool thing, and I feel like Marathon may have the what?
Are you talking about Marathon? You want Marathon to be a cool thing, or you want Tarkov to be a cool thing?
No. I'm saying extraction shooters. I want them to be a cool thing. Yeah. And Marathon may have the juice.
Yeah. It's well, I mean, if we're being fair, like the only thing holding back Tarkov is the barrier to entry, in which you have to go through the online transaction of buying a game from a Russian developer, and then you have to download their custom launcher and XYZ. And also, the game is not optimized at all. So
it's a very steep learning curve.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. Yes, you do have to. You can twist your ankle if you stand up too fast. That's very true.
Calculate the wind speed for every single bullet.
That's different.
Dude,
you're not wrong.
For me, it was the map. Having to have a separate screen for the map, figuring out where the fuck
I love that.
No, it's great. Once you learn it, it's great. But originally, I was like, I'm so lost, dude.
No, yeah, it's definitely not for everyone. There's a great survival game. Called The Long Dark, which is like that as well, which gives you no like in-game sort of HUD or anything, and you have to, when you play the game for the first time, you just have to memorize the maps as you would in real life without a map. So yeah, no, but Extraction is such a great gameplay loop, and even on the days when Dan and I are playing DMZ, and even though there's no real long-term sort of gameplay element to that, like the basic gameplay loop of an extraction shooter is definitely, like I said, how everyone seems to feel about battle royales is how I feel about extraction shooters. I think it's a great gameplay genre. I'm just waiting for that. I agree with you. I'm waiting for that one big game, and hopefully Bungie can do it. And this art style, man, like that's the most important thing with this trailer. That art style is hot.
Oh yes. Let's move on into our fantasy draft check-in. We've got 2 big ticket items for you this week. Of course, Roshan picked up Street Fighter 6, currently on OpenCritic. We're looking at a 92. So that should be 24 big points for Roshan. And let's confirm on Fantasy Critic, Street Fighter 6, 92. Hasn't given you the points yet, but he will be getting it.
What the heck?
Should be 24.
Ridiculous.
Nice.
Of course, someone else who will remain nameless picked up Diablo 4. And OpenCritic currently has it at a 90, so that should be 20 points for them. Who is it? Who knows? We'll never know.
It's me, Mario.
Wait, how does the point system work again? Why does Dan get 33 points for 96 and I only get 24 for 92?
Wait,
Like, wouldn't I just get 4
33 points?
yeah,
Where?
how do you get 30?
Where are you seeing 33?
Christian, you have 33 on
You,
Tears
sorry.
of the Kingdom.
Christian, yeah.
But how is it 33? You're
Hey, yo! I got
Is there another
points for
multiplication
that?
after 95?
There must be, yeah.
It should.
There must be another tier after 95.
I thought it was 2 points for every additional point.
Correct. That's what I
Oh,
thought.
okay.
So it
Yeah.
should
Okay,
be-
I
The math
didn't-
doesn't
I
add up,
wasn't-
though.
So it should be 32 then, right?
I still wasn't even factoring that in. I didn't realize that was it. But there we go. There we go.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right, Dan. It should be an even number, not an odd number.
Right. That's weird.
It's fine. I just thought it was funny.
Well, if you look at our actual points at the top of the screen, we have like decimal points. I don't know how that works. Like
That's true.
I don't know.
Maybe it rounded up then.
Yeah. But how does it get a decimal point? Because
Yeah.
it's all even numbers. That's what I'm not following how they do that.
Fantasy Critic, let us know.
It's a mystery.
Oh wait. I'm trying to find answers for you on the scoring FAQ on the website, but I can't. Anyway,
it's
what's
okay.
on the
It's Tears of the
horizon?
Kingdom. You
Yeah.
should have gotten all the points.
Trying to go back. Let's see what else is coming up. Upcoming releases. Next one is going to be Final Fantasy 16 later in June. Let's go.
Nothing in freaking July. What the heck?
Yet. We never know. We never know. Okay. Let's take a little break here. What you got for me, Daniel?
What do I got for you? I have Tears of the Kingdom still. And I still don't feel very much further than I was last week. Honestly, I don't really have much to update on. Still loving it. Still exploring everything I can. I just oh god. What's the city called?
God.
The City of Water. Now I'm on the spot.
Zonai? Those are the people that live there. I don't remember what the place is called though.
Yeah. Anyways,
It's always Zora's Domain, isn't it?
Zora's. Okay. Yes. That's
it?
where I'm at right now. I just
Okay.
started exploring Zora's Domain and walking around doing some stuff. Very beautiful there. So, actually,
I haven't been there yet.
oh, you haven't? Okay. Well,
Mhm.
I won't say much more then, but it's fun.
I think I'm 50 hours in, man. I still have only done the one thing. To which, Gage, I heard you yesterday be like, sounds like it's not efficient. Hey, it's a big game, all right? Lots of exploration.
Yeah.
I got another bone to pick with Gage that made me laugh.
Let's pick it. Let's pick it.
So yesterday, last week he goes, you guys were talking about Resident Evil VR, and Daniel was like, oh, well, Christian played Resident Evil 4 on Quest VR.
Mhm.
And Gage was like, all right, shut up. Christian probably only played like 2 hours and then never went back.
I stand by that.
And he was right, dude. He was right. I played like 2 or 3 hours, like this fucking rips. Just never went back.
Never touched
Never.
it again.
Yeah. It's cool though. He knows me.
Oh man.
Ro?
That's good.
Yes. Also Tears of the Kingdom. Despite beating the main story, still doing a lot of side quests and enjoying my time discovering new places. Still just taking my horse, galloping around. It's like, oh, what's that over there? And then spend hours exploring that one thing. And having a good time just doing the shrines, helping out the people of Hyrule, that sort of thing. Still a very fun experience even after doing the thing.
I will not be rolling credits on this game until after I do all the shrines and side quests, just like I did in Breath of the Wild.
Nice.
So it's going to be a long time before I beat it, I think.
Same.
I've also been playing Tears of the Kingdom. I took that with me to California. So I was able to play. Took my dock with me. Chilling on my parents' TV or in the bedroom at night. And then we like got together for a big family get together, so I didn't get to play for a while. And last night, I was on Tinder and stuff, and I was like, you know what, I'm still up texting. Why don't I play a little bit? And I started this quest that took me somewhere, and it's cool. Finally, Ro mentioned 2 weeks ago that the Yuga clan are in the game. Finally met them, I guess is one way to saying it. So I'm still following this quest, and pretty neato, I gotta say.
Pretty neato.
I also got back Monday and jumped into Destiny 2 Season of the Deep, trying to get myself caught up with my friends to their quest steps. And then yesterday, did the brand new dungeon, which I gotta say, I know some people are liking it. I think Skillup was talking. I forget. I don't know his actual name, but Skillup was like, "Oh, it's great."
Bro.
Skillup's wrong, dude. This dungeon kind of sucks. I mean, it doesn't suck, but it's pretty tough. Design wise, it's fantastic. I do love that dungeons still have like raid mechanics, although smaller scale with like a 3-person fire team. But there's a lot to get annoyed by in this that I think a lot of people that I've seen on Twitter are kind of have been feeling pretty similar. I think this is going to get tweaked in the next by the end of June. I think this will get tweaked a bit. If Dan or Ro, if you guys have the season pass or if you're at all interested in Season of the Deep, let me know. I now know the mechanics for this dungeon. Would be pretty cool to run through it. So let a pimp know.
Hell yeah.
Let's go. I don't know if I have the season pass actually. I have to check that out. I know I must have with the
Oh
the
my
thing.
god. I got so annoyed at Bungie yesterday.
What are
Because
they?
like because they raised the price right of the season pass, but the way the silver tiers line up, you have to buy the more expensive silver in order to be able to have enough silver to buy the season pass. Then once I bought it, I was like, cool, and I got access to everything, right? No, I still got to buy the dungeon key. I forgot about that. So it's 2 separate transactions. Like, why this much money for like one thing?
Can't you just buy the season pass from the PlayStation Store, or no?
No, that's in game.
Because like for instance, I bought. Of course, I'm the idiot that does this. I bought the more expensive version of the game that includes the season pass.
That's smart. That's smart. No, the annual pass. That is way cheaper than buying stuff a la carte. Yeah, and that's what I ended up doing. I did the math. I'm like, okay, I know I'm going to be playing the rest of the other seasons. So how much money would I save if I just bought the annual pass now, compared to just a la carting it? And yeah, it'd be like $30 cheaper if I just bought the annual pass now.
Yeah. I mean, you said I'm smarter, but I'm actually not because I'm not playing it.
That's true. But you don't have to worry about power caps, like the ceiling being higher. Like you just gotta. Well, I don't know what level you are, but anyway.
If you want to carry me, I mean, I'll join you in a row. Boom.
I don't think I got the season pass, actually. I think I have to buy it a la carte, as you were saying. I heard there's fishing, though.
There is.
That's cool.
No sparrow racing, but they have got fishing in Destiny. Did I get that right? As somebody who doesn't play Destiny, is that
you did?
Yes,
you did
correct.
get that right.
Okay.
There's also been no new Crucible maps for like years, which is something I'm going to bring up later in topic of the show.
Yeah, the PvP players have not been happy with Bungie, at least in that regard.
Gage.
What have I been playing?
Yeah.
Midnight Club LA.
Hell yeah.
That's
PC?
it. Nope. On good old Xbox Series X with native backwards compatibility and FPS boost. Don't even have to even touch anything. It just plays at 60 frames per second. Isn't that? No, I was sitting there and I was playing this game and I was sweating because like that's another thing why I love this game so much is like I hate to be that guy, and it's not general statement. It's not for everything, but like it's kind of fun when games are hard. Like that's the one thing I like about Rockstar games is that there's no difficulty slider. Like the game is just balanced how it's balanced. So I'm sitting there and I'm playing the game and I'm just like my palms are sweating. I'm like, oh, this is actually like I can't just slide all the things down and make it super easy like this. Just having a good time with it. But I was thinking about how I was getting so into it and trying to like min-max and restarting this race over and over and over again. I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, I'm playing this in 60 frames per second right now. And I'm able to like fine-tune my movements. This is kind of cool. And I didn't have to do anything other than just boot up the game. So Xbox, your system architecture is great. You just need to get games. That's all.
Sure. I don't know how to respond to that last bit. It threw me off.
Midnight Club LA is a goat. Is one of the best
It's a
arcade
fun
racers
game,
ever.
yeah. That's not the Batmobile, I think.
It's not.
a
Definitely no
Batmobile.
Batmobile. There's no Batmobile in this. Definitely not.
God damn.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
No, I do.
The car with that big ass like boost in the back of it.
It's not that arcade racy. No, there's only real cars in this game.
I'm telling you, dog. Telling you. I'm looking at a picture of it right here.
Looks like it's in the game.
Yep.
There's
There it
no
is.
way.
Yes,
What am I looking
dude.
up? What am I typing into the Google search
Look
bar right now?
SLF.
Look up Midnight.
Oh,
Batman car? No, here we go.
The Celine S7. No, that's not it. But yeah, it's a car with like 2 turbos on the back of it, and you can just like you go insanely fast with it.
Is it the SLF 450X? Kind of looks
Yes.
like
That-
a Batmobile.
You
It's
got it.
Midnight Club 2 and definitely not Midnight Club LA.
Got it. Thank you.
Ah,
That's the
Gage
Midnight Club
gets-
2. Mm-hmm.
got him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Girls, if this guy hits you up on Tinder telling you that he's played Midnight Club LA, just know that he's a faker. Look at him. Look at the guilty smile on his face.
I'm such a little slut.
You
Anyway,
are.
topic of the show. Let's talk about Sony Live Service
Hell
and
yeah.
how it's off to a stumbling start. I have to re-say the title. Sounds cool. Alliteration. First of all, before we even let's situate ourselves into discussion here. Let's look at the investment graph. This was shared last week during an investor panel, I think. Yeah, financial presentation with Jim Ryan and Herman Holst. And in it, they had this graph here. It was the PS5 investment by business model. You're looking at fiscal years 2019, 2023 by the end of it, and 2025 by the end of it. And in it is like this 100% chunk, right? And we have traditional, how much money they're putting into like the traditional Sony games, which is like, their quote unquote bread and butter single player experiences, and then a darker blue section with live service. Now, it is important to note that there is growth in this chart. So there's more money coming in. Therefore, they're spending more money increasingly at the end of these financial fiscal years. But in 2019, they spent 88% of it in traditional, therefore 12% on live service. But by 2025, only 40% is going to be single player, and 60% of their business model will be going towards live service. Comparatively, this 40% is about the same as 2019's 88%, just in terms of like how much money they're expected to come in and then also spend. But it is important to know, biggest thing is that they're spending more on live service because they believe that to be the future. They want more people invested in their ecosystem. So they're just spending more on live service multiplayer games. They currently have 12 live service titles in production. Listed among those is, of course, Naughty Dog and Guerrilla in their live service game catalog. That's your situation for Sony in the future by 2025, in the next 2 years. So we got a look at the introduction of live service at last week's PlayStation Showcase, to which I will say, was it really a proper introduction? I know you guys touched on it a little bit. You guys were talking about CG trailers. I will say at the top, I don't think it was the kind of full doors open, showing off the big guns of like what the future of PlayStation is going to look like. I think they try to position it as such, but when you have new acquired studios, when you have newly found studios, and even when you have other proper big studios coming in, but still not necessarily showing gameplay or what these live service games will kind of look like, and it's just kind of thematic, obscure kind of CG trailers, it's not really the kind of future-proofing that I would look forward to. Like I know when like a big single-player game's coming out, I know what that's going to look like. They show me gameplay. With this, didn't quite get that. How do you guys feel, just for the sake of conversation again?
I think the question is like, with Sony positioning themselves into more live service stuff, it's going to be a question of whether or not they can keep their PlayStation quality that they hold in single player games in their live service games. And I think that's a real concern because their stuff is very high quality and very well polished, and that stuff takes time. And in a live service type of environment, you have fans consistently pushing on the developer saying, we're ready for the next thing. Give us the next thing. Give us the next thing. So like, is that going to put more pressure on them to release things quicker and have less of that Sony polish? I don't know. But like, yeah, I think that's my major concern about what they're saying here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I from the last PlayStation showcase, I guess I'm in the same position as I was before I even watched it, which is I have no idea what any of these games are going to be yet. I'm excited to, like you're saying, when that door does finally open and we do see what these games are from Haven and Fire Sprite. But what they showed was just like you said, super generic stuff that could be mistaken for something that we saw at the Game Awards last year, even though those things weren't there. They just look like stuff that we've seen before. Them spending more money on live service than their traditional stuff is, again, good that they're taking it seriously, like the Netflix thing, like good, like put your effort into that if that's what you think is the future. But it's at the same time, like I keep saying this every time live service stuff is brought up, there aren't a lot of success stories in it besides Destiny and like Fortnite. And if you're going to make 12 live service games and hope I hope their assumption is that they all stick and that they all are successful, that's a big ask to get your player base to be invested in all these things when it's already so hard to get people to move away from their Tarkovs and their Destinies and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see. Very excited.
The biggest thing you just said, Ro, is like, you're right. It's 12 games. Now, I'm not saying Sony's expecting us to be interested or even invested in all 12 of them, but I'm pretty sure they want some kind of crossover between their single player base and their live service base to at least like be playing or spending time in 1 to 2 of these. But yeah, like there's only so much headspace with like, you're going to be eating at your own audience, but also like the outside audience. You're right, bro, that is already invested in their Call of Duties, their FIFAs, their Fortnites and stuff like that. So it's a Jim Ryan has positioned the company into kind of a precarious place where like they're betting big, sure, but they might also have a lot to lose if it doesn't pan out for them.
You know who Jim reminds me of? Don Matrick.
A little bit,
yes.
a little bit. Mm-hmm.
He's that businessman. He wants the next business decision that's going to blow up, I don't know.
Yeah. He's looking, no, you're absolutely right. He's looking at the, what is essentially a giant portfolio of art, which is what Sony owns. And he's deciding things based on ones and zeros, which is like, well, that might work, but that also might not work because it's not like this isn't like property investment. These are studios making games that are supposed to make an impact on people and get them to play them, which you can't really, schedule out in that sort of rigid and business-like way that Jim Ryan and Don Matrick like to do. Yeah, I don't know. This does. I don't know. I have things to say about Naughty Dog, so I'll just wait.
Okay, and we're gonna get there pretty quickly. I wanted to quickly run down the current quote-unquote lineup of live service games that we know about. Again, just to reiterate from last week, was Fair Games, which is the live service game from Haven. We still don't know much about this game. I think Gage, one of you guys mentioned it on the pod last week, mentioned it kind of looked like Watch Dogs or Payday. I think someone mentioned Payday or Watch Dogs. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. Tonally, this looked okay for me. I would have liked to see what it looked like in action. Granted, Haven's kind of newer, I understand. But again, this goes back to the argument, like, you're going to try to position your full force lineup of games. You kind of want to show the actual games and what they're actually going to look like, not just tone pieces that do nothing. Concord was worse. This was the Firewalk Studios game that showed us less than Fair Games did. It's just like, it's space, and that's pretty much all we know. There's a little bit of retro aesthetic going on with the title, but that's the tease, and you can't really do that when we still don't really know what Firewalk is capable of making in this regard. kind of bummed. The biggest one that I think we all agree with that had like a proper showing was Marathon. But that's because we know what Bungie is capable of making, and additionally, they had the Vidoc come out right after, so you did have more details there,
which was really
tell
cool
me.
how it was unlocked by the ARG. The ARG, like there was some kind of, I forget what it exactly it was. I think the video, there was some kind of tie-in where it had to hit a certain number and then it unlocked the Vidoc. Can't remember off the top of my head.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool because you're gamifying like the experience about learning more. Like you're already pulling in some kind of interactivity and engagement with the actual material of the game by simply doing that, even though it's still not really anything per se. But that shit is cool to me.
Yeah.
Of course, earlier this year, we got supposed leaks, rumors of the Horizon live service game that looked a little bit cartoony, almost a little bit Fortnite-esque character models, but we still don't really know what that's going to look like or if that was even real. But I want to just include that anyway, because it is kind of some kind of look at it, supposedly. The biggest one was, of course, going to be The Last of Us multiplayer, their kind of Factions 2.0, that was going to be, I think, rumored to be an extraction shooter on the shores of, a post-apocalyptic San Francisco, was going to also include a single-player aspect to it, or at least like missions aspect to it. But this is going to be huge. It's going to be a huge title, or one of the biggest from Naughty Dog. And then, of course, last Friday, they put out an apology saying, essentially, the game needs more time to cook. And I'm going to apologize to Gage right here. I was one of the guys who was like, if they need more time, let them have more time. If it's not in a showable state, then whatever. They don't need to apologize for needing more time. If they're going to need to make a good game, take your time. It'll be good when it releases. And then very quickly after, Jason Schreier came out with a bombshell of an article from Bloomberg. And I know some of us can't see Schreier's tweets. Most of us can't see Bloomberg articles. So we have a snippet here from the article. Paul Tassi quote tweeting it. I'm going to read this part to you. The brief announcement also let fans know that the TLU multiplayer game needs more time to cook before Naughty Dog can reveal it. Bloomberg reported that the multiplayer project seems to be hitting some snags, though. Quote, the team working on the game was scaled back after a recent evaluation, said the people who asked not to be named because they weren't authorized to speak publicly. A small group remains on the project while the company reevaluates the direction. While the game has not been canceled, many of its developers have been moved to other projects. Conceivably the single-player title that Naughty Dog mentions in their own post from Friday. Additionally, according to Bloomberg's reporting, Destiny 2 developer Bungie did some consulting and evaluating of Naughty Dog's game. Bungie apparently raised concerns that Naughty Dog's multiplayer game wouldn't be able to keep players engaged. I'll stop there. Gage had stuff to say just off the bat. What are you thinking?
First of all, I would like to reiterate that you guys.
All right.
I might have not explained it well, but you guys totally missed the point. I was not ever saying why the fuck is Naughty Dog delaying this game. It was why are we getting an apology for a game we haven't seen yet? This smells bad, and lo and behold, something's wrong. Correct. So let's just get that out of the way. All right. Also, the only other time we got an apology for a game before it came out was Halo Infinite, and while it's looking good now, what happened? So forgive me if the chef comes out and says, "Hey, just want to let you know, really sorry for what we're about to plate." I would be a little bit. I'd be a little bit fucking nervous. I'm sorry. I would be a little bit nervous.
I will say there's no evidence to say it's quote unquote bad.
No, but clearly it's.
No.
Okay,
Bungie did not like what they were seeing, and they had concerns about longevity.
Yes, true. But actually, let's talk this out because I'm asking this as a genuine question. Like, I can't think of when they say that this has been significantly scaled down but not canceled. What does that mean to you guys in terms of video game? Does that mean that this game's coming out and now they're just having a small crew of people retweak it? Like, what is scaled down but not canceled mean for a game that has yet to release?
That sounds
what does that mean?
That sounds like what happened to Overwatch to me. Like where you like remove features and just put out a different type of experience.
So is it, so then me. Right, so then that's what I'm curious about. Are we going to get something that's just like a an instance, like a match based, like totally not persistent, totally not live service. Like
it's not the full vision. Is what I hear that I feel like they removed some stuff to make it. I don't know what they did, but it makes me feel
right. Now, but since we're talking about Naughty Dog, I just want to jump on to something that Dan said before. I think it was Dan, where it was making sure that Sony live service games live up to the quality of their single player experiences. I think the problem that they ran into, and this was something that I was always worried about. At first, I was excited because I was like, "Oh, Naughty Dog took this on, so they must think that they can do it. They must have cracked the code." But what I'm now worried about is, are they realizing that they can't have 8 players in a lobby and have that same fidelity that Naughty Dog is known for? Because you got to think of the optics and the sort of political sort of aspect of games. It's like you can't release, especially as Naughty Dog, which is Sony's flagship studio. You can't release a game and have it look worse than the game that you released previously. Even if we understand, like as gamers with some level of knowledge of the back end things and how it's a give and take, like I'm wondering if they can't get a game that looks like The Last of Us Part 2 with 8 players and different enemies that are loaded in for certain players. Like I wonder if that's the roadblock that they've run into with this game, is that how do we make this look like a Sony first party exclusive, but have it function? And I don't know, like there's certain things that I've been thinking about now since we've gotten all this debacle, how like you only ever see 2 players in the concept art. Like I'm wondering if this is like, if they've scaled it down, like this is you and a buddy in a very kind of somewhat large map, and there's only 2 other players. Like I don't know what's going on with this, but it seems like when Dan said that, it kind of sparked something in my brain where I was like, I think that's maybe their issue that they're running into, is that they can't get a 16-player, 8-player lobby running with all the AI and all that stuff and have it look like a Naughty Dog game, or how we think a Naughty Dog game should look.
That would imply, I think, a level of the game being in like an unplayable or broken state, which is not what the article kind of is getting at. It's they had concerns over engagement. Hold on, what is the quote here? Keeping players engaged. So I think it's the gameplay loop, not the actual.
For sure.
Get me?
I get you. My concern is that it's like if I'm just saying, if the game launched and it was a persistent online extraction shooter, and you could only squad up in parties of 2, and there was only maybe like 1 or 2 other teams on the map, I would see that as I would play a couple of rounds and be like, this is not going to keep my interest. So I don't know if the 2 are complete. Like I'm saying, I wonder if they've maxed. If they are thinking to themselves, this needs to look like a Naughty Dog game, they may have designed this game. It may be fully playable. It may be done, but they may be limited by the graphics and the quality that they need to present. In which case, Bungie comes in and goes, yeah, this looks fucking gorgeous, but you've got 4 players on the map, and it's not really that exciting. Like that's maybe what I'm thinking, because I think Dan's right. Like that's the thing with the live service games, is that Sony knows this is why, and I think this is why we're not seeing The Last of Us multiplayer project, is that if these games don't visually look like they're up to snuff with the rest of what Sony has to offer, people will immediately sniff it out, and for better or for worse, justified or not, either avoid it or not stick with it or whatever.
Dan, yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say, I think you both are on to something, like in terms of the gameplay loop and like them trying to find a good balance between fidelity and making something exciting with a bunch of other people. I think you both are onto something. But to kind of go back to the staffing point real quick, just to give a different perspective on that, them lessening the staff on that to like a bare bones staff isn't necessarily meaning like they're stripping the game back, because a lot of times game developers do that to save money in order to, evaluate a project. So like if you want to go back to the drawing board, so to speak, for this game, so you have a small team reevaluating what they can do with the game, then when they figure that shit out, they bring a bunch of other people back on board.
Yeah, programming and art after that. Yeah,
exactly. So I think that's a possibility, but also if they can't find the fun, so to speak, then maybe this game never comes out and they don't scale back up. That's definitely a possibility as well. Yeah.
I am pretty set, and I'm probably wrong, to be honest, because Gage is the prophet. On this multiplayer game from Naughty Dog being, I'll say, adequate, because that's a pretty. It's probably just as good, if not a little bit better, than Factions that has come before, and the Uncharted games. Like, I'm pretty sure it's playable. It's probably more comparative to like The Division, if anything, where like, yeah, it works, the lobbies are running, but is it engaging to the level that like, Bungie's level, but their bar of engagement daily, weekly is? That is like the concern, right? Like, is there a gameplay loop in terms of like quests or gear or like a changing environment, persistent environment, all that stuff that Bungie's kind of used to? Do they nail it all the time? No, I have numerous complaints with Destiny all the freaking time. Constantly.
I think most people do.
Constantly, which is why I'm a little bit worried. Like, I don't know. Like, this almost rubbed me a little bit the wrong way, because like Bungie should not be, in my opinion, personally, the be all end all stop of like whether or not a project of this caliber succeeds or not. However, they do know they know a lot.
Yeah.
Sony is trusting them a lot. Like, they have had several experiences with these. So like, their opinion should carry a huge weight.
And that's one of
I don't know. I want to know more.
And that's one of the biggest reasons why Sony brought Bungie on board and bought them, because they wanted their expertise with games like this, because Bungie's games are not exclusive to PlayStation, as we've seen and they've talked about, and that must have been baked into their deal. So Sony, knowing all of those facts already, they just wanted them just so that they could have their expertise in terms of live service. I'm sure profitability, Bungie's doing pretty well as well,
right?
So that probably helps the matter as well. But yeah.
Sorry, Naughty Dog. You need to include a backpack that you can level up with different artifacts in there too, so I can get plus 20% crafting. I'm sorry.
I love. Yeah, it's like the meme with the two guys at the studio and the one guy's leaning over the other shoulder, and he's like, "So where's the light level? Where's the gear score? I don't understand." So the curveball, and actually, this is piggybacking off what you said. The curveball I have is that The Last of Us Factions had a horrible player retention, and yet it's a fantastic game. This is my one concern, right?
Sure.
So something like Tarkov is never going to be widely accessible to a massive audience, but the people who do like that game, like me, like who I love survival games, and that experience transfers over to Tarkov. Like, there's something that needs to be said where, again, this is Jim Ryan probably looking at things from the number standpoint. Yeah. Naughty Dog is our biggest studio. Last of Us is one of, if not our biggest IP that we own. Therefore, everyone should like this game. We need to design this game in such a way that it's going to grab the biggest audience. But that's sometimes not what the game needs. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm worried that like Naughty Dog maybe has this vision of this game where you're sort of slinking in through these into these levels. Like, let's go with the rumors, right? Because there's been tons of rumors that it is an extraction shooter. So let's say that that's what it is. It's some sort of Destiny MMO, but instead of PvP raids or whatever, you're going into doing these extraction sessions or whatever. If Naughty Dog has this idea where you're going in and maybe ammo's super scarce, just like it is in single player, and like it's a lot about sort of sneaking around and thinking about where to go, and like, oh, there's 8 clickers over there. I literally can't do anything about that, so I need to just avoid the combat instead of engaging with it. I'm worried that maybe that's when Bungie came in and said like, oh, well, this isn't going to engage people. It's like, well, it might not engage everyone for a super long time, but to me that sounds fucking awesome. That sounds like a game that I would sink so many hours into. I'd love to, because I like getting into that. I like kind of like quasi role playing and being like, okay, shit, what the fuck are we gonna do? Like, Rashan, throw a bottle over there, and then I'll run around and see if I can. I don't know. So that's the curveball that kind of that what you said, Christian, reminded me, is that like, yeah, sure, maybe that Bungie's doing what they're told and they're giving Sony the feedback, like, because you're right, Daniel. They bought Bungie because A, they're a powerful studio, then also B, they have their own consulting firm pretty much on live service games that they now own. So yeah, if Bungie's being sent in there and Jim Ryan's saying, tell me exactly what I need to know, and they're like, oh, well, this is the facts. Unfortunately, the people who has the ultimate decision making, right, is somebody who doesn't really know the space. So that's my concern. I don't know if Bungie's idea of engaging necessarily translates to quality of the game, because I love the first Factions. If it was on PC, I'd probably be playing it now. It's a fun game. It's a fun deathmatch sort of game, but didn't have high retention. So
you have made me realize my biggest worry in this, and that is there's a level of, what do you want to call it, sacrifice or compromise, what have you, that these teams are going to have to make just by simply thinking of their IP as a service and not as a means to tell an artful story, which is one of the reasons why I stick to a lot of these first-party Sony games so often, is because I want to have a story that moves me and engages me in a certain regard, and then I put that down and move on to the next chapter of something else, right? And when you distill that down to no, we just want this to just be gameplay, gameplay loop, looting, whatever, crafting systems, whatever, that starts to lose me in terms of why I game or why I'm even attracted to these IP in the first place. Just because it's The Last of Us doesn't mean it's going to be an automatic sell for me.
right.
Or just because it's Naughty Dog even, right? But because it is live service, and because Sony has this idea of what they want the future of their live service games to be, there's going to have to be some sacrifices made in terms of storytelling, I guess, in this regard. And that bums me a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think what Gage was saying with Sony having the final decision, not really knowing the space, is kind of lends to your point, Christian, where those worries come, where I think if it was up to Naughty Dog, we would get that thing that you're hoping for with the story, and everything is super immersive. And of course, if the technology works in the perfect world, all that kind of stuff. But with Bungie coming in, and as you said, their appointing is very important. That what makes Bungie games fun doesn't necessarily make what Naughty Dog games are fun. They're completely different things. So them giving them advice on their game is valuable, but at the same time, they should still follow through with their vision, even though Bungie's opinion on this space is important. It's a weird one, because Naughty Dog is known for their single player awesome experiences, not so much their multiplayer ones. Uncharted was fun, Factions was fun, but it's
that's not why people are playing those games.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here's a wacky idea, guys. Left field.
Oh boy.
Bungie's making Marathon, which is an extraction shooter, and they're like, yeah, that game looks bad.
Just sabotaging them.
Yeah. That's totally not happening, right? I'm just kidding.
No, I don't think this is gonna work, Jim. I think we only need one. I think we should go with Marathon.
Yeah.
I think we cancel this. Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Bungie, what's the veil?
Yeah.
I hope that, but I mean, again, my final stance to make things clear is that I want this project to succeed. I especially just recently doing my second playthrough of Last of Us Part 2, it's I can't help but think that how amazing it would be. Obviously there's the first Seattle level where it's that sort of semi-open world. There's just so much potential, and this is the thing that, again, I'm worried about with it doesn't translate to engagement, but I think that there's a lot that Naughty Dog does that would translate really well to an extraction shooter, especially if it was one that combat wasn't emphasized with, where it's what's the one thing that we can all think of right now that Naughty Dog does extremely well? Environmental storytelling, right? All that stuff. So if you have that in a Tarkov style game where you're going into a map, and maybe it's you go and you gather enough resources, and then you load out, and when you come back in, you have a new piece of equipment. Maybe it's a rope, and now you can throw yourself into the second story, and you get up there, and there's notes around, and there's this environmental storytelling of what happened before. Maybe there's a safe in there. And then from the resources that you get, if you manage to extract and get out of that, you can now buy more equipment that gets you access to these other different areas. And that Naughty Dog is so good at environmental storytelling and sort of making things seem like they're not linear, that I think if they launch this thing with only a couple of maps, you could get so much sort of playtime out of that. But again, only if you're willing to sort of engage with that style of game that Naughty Dog makes. So that which brings me back to what we're all saying, is that I hope Bungie's not sort of saying, oh, this needs to have this and that, where it's well, that won't be what makes this special. What makes this game engaging with players over a long time might be the difference between this game being a 9 out of 10 and it's an 8 out of 10, or it's a 7 out of 10, because they just scrapped all that unique stuff in favor of getting a larger audience.
Want to know what I was imagining?
Us kissing.
That's one of the things, sure. The other was like, I don't know. Imagine what do you proximity chat? I was imagining like
Yes.
San Francisco like shopping center. You see an enemy team proximity chatting, whatever, and there's like clickers nearby, and you and your little partner like throw a bottle over there, and now like this enemy team that was like looting this area is now like getting in like a horde of like an infected like ran on them, and they end up dying, and you clean them up, and you take their loot, and you leave. Like I don't know, that could have been fun to me.
Well, I mean, let's take it one step further because you saying this just made me think of this for the first time. AI clickers reactive VoIP, right?
Could you imagine?
Do we discuss the resources we just got, or oh wait, I think I heard a click. Stop talking.
Could you imagine, dude?
I have been for years.
I'll be playing that all day,
Neil.
dude. Like from here on out, we are silent.
Literally, you could create scenarios where you replicate that, and you don't even do it ironically or just to do a bit. You're like, oh shit, stop talking, right? Like that happens to Tarkov all the time. Like when somebody your buddy gets killed and he's blabbering, and you're like, wait, stop the comms. I think I hear footsteps. But now instead of footsteps, it's I hear clicking. We're about to get our shit wrecked. Dude, there's so much potential here. There's so much potential.
Even like environmental storytelling, like you're talking about, Gage, like if you're like different groups on the map and they have longer sessions than like a traditional extraction shooter, like you're in the map for a long period of time and you're making like meaningful things happen on the map, and other people on the map hear about these things happening or like see explosions or like, I don't know. I just think that would be really cool as well. Like have some really deep story beats in terms of what's happening in the world. And maybe that's why Bungie didn't like it also, because they're like, oh, that long of a session, no one's going to play for that long. But like a lot of people who play single player games play for, decently long sessions.
That's a really good point too. And yeah, like that, and like I don't know, there's just there's a gameplay loop that I see that where like even the entire sewer system, or not sewer, I don't know if it's sewer, the storm drains or whatever, but that entire section of the first game, it's like, well, what if that was just under the map and you could only get into that if you had played that map a bunch, and you've worked up enough to go buy some freeze spray so you can freeze the lock and open it up, and like even if they separate it with a loading screen, because again, I understand like there are technical balances you have to do, but it's like that's how Tarkov works, and that's why Tarkov retains, again, small player base, high retention, because you go in and you play a match and like, oh, you found this key and you're like, cool, I can open up that door. But like you were saying, Dan, with other players in the map, it's like, well, maybe we get out and we're planning to go to that police station and raid the vaults, but now players have been shooting around that area, and now there's a bunch of clickers over there, even though that wasn't like, if we had this key last match, we could have made it in there, but now there's a curveball thrown our way. Like I think Naughty Dog, an extraction shooter, especially with The Last of Us, like that's such a great recipe, and I just hope that this game is able to, I don't know, I'm worried about the game just on its own, and I'm also worried about Bungie's influence on it, and then of course Sony, who has the ultimate say on what happens. You know what? But there's so much potential there.
There's one solution here. Sony acquires Podcast PXN, and we consult for Naughty Dog.
Hell yeah!
We just get high,
Jim. Honestly, I'm such a big fan, and I really think that what you're doing at Sony is great. You just need it for millennials that don't know anything about the industry to actually help.
Yeah.
Imagine this: we need to scavenge gas masks so that we can go to Pier 39, kill a bloater. I don't know. I'm just
crazy.
Imagine we have to
saying things.
Scavenge gas masks to go to Comic-Con, interact with all the dorks.
Nice one, dude. Fucking nerds. Thank you again to everyone joining us live on YouTube and Twitch, as well as podcast services everywhere, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your pods. Thank you, Roshan. Thank you, Gage. Thank you, Dan. This has been Christian. I'm Christian. I'm doing it.
He's losing it.
Yeah, I am. Always.
He's frame skipping.
And this has been Podcast PXN. We are out of here.
Much love. Keep on gaming.
Keep on rocking in the free world.
Daddy.